All right, the best AI testing tools for 2025 have to be MCPs combined with your AI. In this video, it's going to be fun. It's long, but it's going to be fun. This is showing how to use MCPs with GitHub Copilot. And just a couple of MCPs, you can start having AI just do exploratory testing for you, find bugs, and then generate all those tests for you and debug the tests themselves as you're going. And it's not that hard to set up at all. It's pretty easy. So let's jump into this. Unfortunately, there was a third one. I wanted to cover Playwright MCP, Memory MCP. We got those two. But the sequential thinking MCP, which was working fine for me the previous week, suddenly just decided not to work for this demo. So I apologize. Hopefully in a future video we can address that. But check out sequential thinking on your own. Hopefully they've patched whatever bug was happening with that. But we'll try it again in the future with a few more MCPs because I am excited about MCPs. They are, I can't even, my brain is overflowing with possibilities on using this stuff. So hopefully you kind of catch that bug too after this video if you haven't messed with them before. But before we jump in, make sure to grab my top 5 test automation best practices. It's a free guide. Just find the link below in the description. It's just a quick summary of some, I think are some important things for doing test automation. Some things I wish I knew 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 25 years ago when I started testing, a quarter century ago. But yeah, just grab that. It's a free download, and hopefully you can get some cool information out of it. You know, just it's a quick read. I tried to make it really super short and easy, and distill some a lot of information that I wish I knew before starting my career. Okay, so the first part of this video is just setting up MCPs with GitHub Copilot. It's there's a lot more you can do, but in this video I'm trying to keep it simple, and I use the simple MCPs you can just grab and just click install from Microsoft's website. That's it. You just click install, it starts activating, and then you have to click start server, and then you have your MCPs. We'll walk through that in this video and get you set up. All right, so let's jump into it. Let's kick this off by starting a new project in Visual Studio Code. This is going to be our test project where we write all our tests. We're going to use Playwright to write the test, but I'm going to let the AI do a lot of that heavy lifting. Right now, all I'm going to do is create an empty project and then get the MCP servers set up, and I'll show you just how easy this is. I was banging my head against the wall trying to figure out how to make MCPs work. Let me show you how to do it with Visual Studio Code and GitHub Copilot. First things first, I'm just going to create a directory, MCP research or MCP demo. Yeah, why not? And I'm going to cd into that, and then I'm going to start up Visual Studio Code just by doing code dot. First of all, you have your, if this isn't open for you, just go to the right here and click your GitHub Copilot chat. Then go down here, make sure you're in agent mode, agent, and then choose whatever model that you want. I love Claude Sonnet for coding, so I have Claude Sonnet set here. How do we install MCP servers here? I'm looking over here, there's nothing here. Nope. Configure, oh, look at this, MCP servers. So there's a little gear icon, MCP servers. And really nothing here, and it kind of just opens the extensions directory. That's all it's doing, is opening these extensions. However, at the very bottom, way down here is MCP servers. Let me drag this up, drag this over. And if you click this MCP servers link right here, it's going to open up this website. Bump it up for you right here. Okay, that's more visible. These are the MCP servers that Microsoft is offering for easy install. This is just the tip, not even a tip of the iceberg of how many MCP servers are available out here. So let me just walk through some of these just to wet your whistle. There is the Playwright one, and this one isn't for writing tests. This Playwright one is actually for controlling the browser in a very deep and meaningful way. So this is the one that we're going to be using for this demo, Playwright right here. But some other interesting ones in this top section, GitHub. If you use GitHub at all, you can do some interesting things there. Marketdown is one that I use because there are some of these like chats that can't convert, like can't read the PDF, Word, or Excel. So if you ever run into that, install this Marketdown and it'll convert any document into a Markdown file. And then I found that these AI chats can always read Markdown because it's just like a plain text file. So very useful when you want to like read in a document. This will help. And of course, you know, Context 7 is another good one. If you need up-to-date tech libraries, I don't know if you ever noticed that GitHub Copilot is out of date with the APIs or whatever technology you're using. Context 7 will actually go out and fetch the latest documentation for any framework and feed it into the context of your chat. So that's really useful. Not using it for this demo, and I'm going to stop going through each and every single ones, but let me show you the other two on top of the Playwright one that we're going to use today. The first one is going to be this sequential thinking, and this one is going to be memory. And I will go into much more detail about these two, but basically this, I put these in here and they are a powerhouse. Just a high-level overview of why. Memory can create a local kind of like memory database of your chats and the things you discover as you're going through stuff. So what we're going to be doing is like using Playwright to like mess with a website and figure it out. And it's going to start using this memory thing to create memory of what it was doing. And then I'm also going to be giving a lot of commands to do stuff. It's like, hey, I'm going to tell GitHub Copilot to go do a whole bunch of stuff. Like, hey, remember that bug we did earlier? Can you create a bunch of tests around that bug and then like, you know, maybe do some SQL injection trying to break it, whatnot. Sequential thinking will then take that giant blob of task I gave it and break it down into smaller, more meaningful tasks. And then it can work together with the memory MCP server and break things down into cool tests and that were discovered by the Playwright thing. So that's basically how I know it's not going to make sense until we actually do it. So I'm going to shut up and just get this installed right here. Just wanted to give you a little high-level overview. And again, tip of the iceberg. This is what makes it easy. I'll show you how you can install even more of these MCP servers, or at least give you a glimpse of it, how you can do more on your own. But let's start with the very first one, install Playwright. So just click that, it brings you back here, and in the center console right here, let me minimize the extensions right here. It's going to open up this guy. It's going to tell you to install. If you go ahead and install, whoa, what happened? It's installed, but you don't really see anything happen. So if you click on this right here, extensions, you go down here to this bottom one again. Whoops, that little widget. There it is, the Playwright is listed as one of the MCP servers that we installed. The next thing you can do is, I'm on Linux, so this is probably Linux, and Windows, you go Control-Shift-P. I think on Mac it's like Command-Shift-P. But if you type in MCP : open user configuration, this guy right here, it's going to open the settings file. And this gives us a little bit more insight into how Copilot is understanding MCPs. And this is how all these like MCP things work. Like I think this is is it a client or a host? I can't remember. Anyway, it is going to basically use standard input output. So it's just basically going to send commands in and just take the raw text that's going to be fed back from this server and read that into the LLM, my Claude Sonnet. The command here is npx. So here's something you got to look out for when installing these MCPs. It's not going to install npx for you or do anything like that. It's just going to call npx. You can actually do this on your own, just like npx and then copy this argument and do it on the command line. And what this does, this is telling GitHub Copilot how to start this server. So what happens is, it's like, cool, I'm going to go npx, Playwright MCP latest, and it's going to kick that off, and that's going to start a server in the background. And that server is going to be what Copilot interacts with to control your browser with Playwright. It's very cool. So that was just a high level over. Just if you have any problems running this, it's probably because you don't have Node installed globally on your machine. It has to be in the path. So when you run npx to execute this Node package right here, and it doesn't work, it just needs to have that globally installed. There's other ones you're going to have installed. It depends on what MCP server you get. It could be UVX is what I see a lot, and that's for Python. So you probably also want to install Python, and after you install Python, you install the pip install the UV package, and you get UVX. The other one is going to be Docker, which I saw a lot, and the rest it's all dependent upon how the MCP server is written. It could be a Rust thing, it could be whatever. So whenever in doubt, look at this MCP JSON file and see how things are set up. The other cool thing about this is that we just did the install and only put this one argument in. There are several other arguments that we can pass in here. I'll leave that as another. I don't want to get too much into the weeds here and confuse you, because this right here by itself works wonderfully. So we'll just stick with that. But I'm just letting you know, you can go in here and kind of figure out what's happening behind the scenes. And also, it's good to know because sometimes you need to edit things. MCP stuff is really new, and a lot of the tools around it are pretty clunky. So, and sometimes the documentation is just like hot off the presses and not correct. So sometimes you need to mess with these. We'll show you one. The memory one is another one that you're going to have to mess with a little bit, and I'll show you why. But now we got our MCP server installed. However, if we go to use it, nothing's going to happen because we haven't started it yet. And this is what drove me crazy. I could not understand what I was doing wrong. I was playing with Windsurf before I did Visual Studio, and Windsurf and Cursor just do this automatically. Once you've installed the MCP, it just automatically kicks it off, and you don't have to worry about it. But that's not the case with GitHub Copilot. So if you want to make it work, either you go here to this one and go start server, or you go here and start server. One of these two, you have to click start server. So boom, start server, and it kicks off the Playwright server for you here, and it is running. There you go, and it's discovered 24 tools. And you can even ask it, what tools did it install? So using Playwright MCP tool, what are the available tools? Fingers crossed this gets answered correctly. And there you go. It's going to list all of these out for you. When I was using Windsurf, it actually populated like the little thing and told you all the tools. As soon as you installed it, it just gave you a little quick overview of what tools. But look, here it is. set up. It's going to install the browser for you. It's going to do all these things. You can do wait for, handle dialogue, all this stuff. You don't need to worry about these tools. This is just what's available. When and Copilot figures it out. The way MCP servers are set up is that it can query all this, figure out all the tools, because notice I just asked Copilot to look at these tools, and the tools give back a ton of information to Copilot to know how to use it. So yeah, it's very cool, all this stuff that it does. And it can even like do network. Hey, what are the network things on a page? Console messages, take screenshots, all this stuff on top of just regular clicking and navigating and all that good stuff. So let's just see it in action real quick. So I'll launch a browser and go to github.com. That didn't do MC servers. All right, so it's using the Playwright MCP server, and that's right, I forgot. By default, GitHub Copilot's going to keep prompting you on every single time. For me, I don't want to be prompted every time. It gets annoying because you do it and it's every single little thing it does. So right here, I'm going to say allow in this workspace. I don't want to say always allow because there might be other projects I don't want it to automatically run. Or you can also, if it's just for this session, do that. But I'm going to say allow in this workspace. Oh, look at that. It just launched GitHub Copilot. Or not GitHub, it's github.com. Now that this browser is open, go over here and say, why don't we tell it to click on the resources AI. Click on the resources menu and click the AI topic. Let's see what happens. So on github.com, open or click on the resources tab and click on the AI topic. Go back over here and see what happens. Oh, it's probably going to ask me a bunch of stuff. Yeah, see, I wish I could just tell it all things for the server. I'm sure there's a way to do it, but allow on this workspace. See, it's really annoying, but see what happens here. Can't see this. Oh, look. Wow, there it did it. It opened up and went to the AI topic. Let's see. Oh, it's giving us a summary of what it did. Yeah, it's giving us a summary of the page. It's going a little bit overboard, chewing all my tokens. But yeah, let's go through all of this and see what it did. I think because I was flipping back and forth on, I was ruining its navigation. So sorry. Usually I have things side by side, but for this, there's just not enough space to run everything side by side. But let's click these down. It's going to look for the element. And look at all this code. It's going to figure out all this stuff. It looks at the page and then it clicks. It's going to click the link right here. That's a snapshot. And it's just trying to like figure things out because I was moving things around. But it's like, oh, cool. It's hitting the resource button. But since I flipped things out, it's like, oh, I can't click on that AI topic. Until I stopped touching things that it, oh, it actually just went to that article directly. All right, so it figured a workaround from what I was doing, so not great. But if I let it alone, it would have done it right. So that's just an example of using the Playwright MCP. So now let's finish up this section by installing and starting up the other two MCPs for this, this demo. Let's go back to this marketplace, and since this is here, it kind of, oh, wait a minute, what's this? Oh, browse MCP servers. I did not know this was here. All right, click. Nice. All right, so we go back to this web page. We're going to scroll down and we're going to install sequential thinking Oh, what did I do? I pulled this up way too far. All right. And for now, I'm just going to collapse this so we can see things. I'm going to install this. And we're going to start the server. Discovered one tool. Very simple MCP, but very, very awesome. Simple, but awesome. And go back here again. Let's click back on this. Go back to this page. And the last one we're going to install is this memory one. Install memory. So we install it, and then keep an eye out here. Something fun's going to happen. Manage. Start server. Ah, see, now we're getting this. It wants you to put the path to the memory storage file. So I want to put it at, I'm just going to put it somewhere generic really quick. We could just put it in, actually, we can just put it in our current directory. So I'm going to do that. I want to put this memory file in our current directory. And let me see where that current directory is. I'm going to go back to my terminal here, and I'm just going to do present working directory. I'm going to copy the present working directory, go here, and then I'm going to name the file that I want. I'm going to say it's a demo memory. And you don't need an extension or anything, just say that's the file. Cool, and it just created this file. You can actually go back to here and, oh, it hasn't done anything with it yet, so, I would have expected, oh, let me refresh the server. Cool, it's restarted. Hasn't created that file because we haven't accessed it yet, so let's access the memory file so it creates this and I can show you that file real quick. Use memory MCP tool. Remember how to query MCP servers for what available tools they have. I'll help you use the memory MCP tool and remember how to query MCP servers for their available tools. There we go. We got this entities. Collapse this, move things over a little bit. Let's just look at this. So it's putting all this information here and sending it to this memory. And it's creating a prompt that is very, very specific to this. And it's putting this in the memory. And so we can retrieve this memory at any time. And this memory actually helps structure the prompts that we can feed back to the LLM. So if you ever had problems with like LLMs or your AI just kind of going wacky and forgetting things you told it to do before, this can help keep it on track. And it builds up a memory of how you've solved problems or thought about things or the architecture of something that you're researching or anything. You can just add it to this memory. So I personally, even though I put that memory file, actually, I'll just go ahead and continue and do this. We're going to just always allow in this workspace. So it did that. Whoops. I'm gonna do this as well. Always allow in the session workspace. I'm not going to read every single thing it does. You can just kind of assume it's doing the right things with this memory. Cool. And it's going to give you this nice little summary right here. And yeah, then if we go back over here to the terminal, it should have a file here. Yeah, so we can see demo memory right here. I wonder what it looks like. I wonder if it's just like, I haven't even looked at it yet. Demo memory. Oh, it's like a JSON file, basically. Cool. Yeah, and it just keeps building up memory over time. So even though I put this here in this project, it's another good reason to know how to edit this thing is that you can create multiple memory files. You can create one main memory file and like put it in your Dropbox or OneDrive or wherever. And that'll be like your lifelong memory for how you do things in with AI. And like it can study how you approach all these things. And it exists across multiple sessions. Not only that, if you like to use this MCP server with another IDE or another chatbot that supports MCP servers, you can pull in the same memory file and use it across different clients or hosts, MCP host or whatever. But you can. So I can like take the same one and use it in Windsurf, or I can use it in Cursor. I created another thing called Chat. I didn't create it, but I use this thing called Chatbox for Linux. It's kind of like a Claude desktop clone, and I enabled this as well. So yeah, you can use all these different. For me, it blows my mind because now things exist across not only sessions but even different IDEs that I can plug back into my AI and get it to work like I want it to work and remember the way I've solved problems in the past. If that doesn't blow your freaking mind right there, man, I mean, just think about that for a second. This is like a memory thing. Like, I started having crazy ways of thinking about how we can use this. Like, maybe we can make a multiple memory server thing that everybody in your company has these memory files, and then we merge them all together into something that everybody's memory in your company on how they do things can be merged into one and figure out how to do things in more effective ways using everybody's memories. That's kind of a Skynet level shit right there. So, not going to go down that rabbit hole, but just saying, like, man, this just made me, just this alone, and the knowing I could control the browser with just like typing in plain, regular, normal language, and then remember everything I do. It's so awesome. But yeah, I'm going to jump into the sequential memory thing later. I can just keep going on to this stuff over all night long. But yeah, that's the basics of getting these things set up. You install them from that website. It puts all the stuff into the MCP user configuration file. Let me open this one up again. And yeah, you can just change. You can even just go in here and directly, like, yeah, it just gives you that little edit pop over there. You can edit all this stuff if you want. And it gives you this little right here. I don't even know what that is. I think it's storing this somewhere else. But anyway, you can edit this shit right here. Okay, I'm just blabbing. Now, let's move on to the next section here. I think you got it. You have your chat set up. These MCP servers are running everywhere, so yeah. And I think these MCP servers are running globally on your machine, so you can get, if you had something different, you can also access it from a different IDE or chat box or MCP agent of some sort. There's so many possibilities of using this stuff. I can't even, like, I just started using this, like, I didn't post a video last week because I just went down the rabbit hole of playing with this stuff. So, man, it was so much fun playing with this stuff, and you'll see why in the next section. Okay, and it's really easy to do, easy to set up. I think the hardest thing is really making sure you have all the tools in the path. UV, UVX, Python, NPM, or sorry, Node and NPM. Those are a lot of the ones I've seen so far. But yeah, you just have to look and see what's required for your global thing. It's just a command line tool. You just got to make sure your command line tools are installed that these servers need. And then they just launch. So that's just that part. So hopefully this helped you out getting those set up and started. Now we're going to jump into the next part, which is getting this a real world app and loading it into your context. Let's jump into that next part to actually get real code that we have no idea how it works and see how AI deals with it with our MCPs. Let's jump into it. All right, for this next section, I'm just pulling in this thing called the Real World app, and it's just a clone of medium.com. It's not even that much of a clone, it's kind of clunky, but it's a kind of a test app that they made that does signing in, lets you put articles and follow people, favorite articles, create, delete accounts, you know, just some basic stuff for our website. And yeah, we're just gonna get that loaded in so that GitHub Copilot can see the code and give better context for all the AI to do its work and start testing your app. This is something I learned at work, and I did just recently just to give AI a lot more context, and it really does help if the AI can see the code that's behind whatever it is you're trying to test. So let's get into it. I'll show you how I got that set up in VS Code. Now this next part I'm going to show you isn't really, you don't really need MCPs for this next part. I'm going to show you how you can make code available for GitHub Copilot to be able to parse it. The scenario that I'm coming from that's present in my company is that the production code is in a different repository than our test code. So we have our own test code. It does its own thing, and they don't see each other at all. They're not part of the same environment at all. So when you have your workspace here, you close out these guys. First, you need to have a workspace. So let's take this project, and we're going to save workspace as. And you have to save it as a workspace first, because by default, it is not a workspace. When you just do that code dot that you saw me do, it's not really creating a workspace. It kind of has a temporary workspace, but there's no workspace file that it works from to really generate, do what we need to do in the next thing. And you'll see why. So yeah, I'll just take the generic name, save it back just into this same directory. Cool. So we got our workspace here, and this is now, we're in our workspace. And we still got this stuff going over here, but now we have kind of a workspace. So what I did, I downloaded a project that I had no clue about whatsoever. The project is called Real World App. And what it is it's kind of an educational clone of medium.com. So it lets you log in, create a user, create articles, follow other users, delete articles, edit articles, tag things, all that good stuff. So that's the project. I have no idea about this project. I don't know anything about it. I didn't code it. So this is also like you're a new tester on a team, or you're working on a brand new project you've never seen before. Here is what we do. We to make it available to our thing. So you have it downloaded somewhere else. So I git cloned that project to, I'll just open it up here and show you where that is. I cloned that project somewhere else. So what you need to do now is add folder to workspace. And then you find that other project, if I can remember where it is. So give me a second here while I poke around. Cool. Got this real world app. And in there's two things I put on the back end and the front end. So yeah, you have to run two different services. You run the back end first, it like creates the database and all that good stuff, and then the front end is like a React front end. Let's go ahead and add this. Yeah, it's been a while since I forgot all this stuff, but yeah, now we can see. Ooh, did I just add the front end and not the back end? Hang on a sec, I did this wrong. Control Z. All right. I accidentally hit that front end. I did not mean to do that. Remove folder from workspace. Okay, let's try that one more time. Add folder to workspace. 1 year I'll get this. Real world app. And add. Cool, there we go. We got the real world app, got the back end code, and we got the front end code. So now, this is 100% visible to GitHub Copilot. So if you just kind of, I think you can just drag this over here, boink, and it gives this into the context. I think there's an easier way to do it, like hitting add or pound or something, but I can't remember. So let's just tell it what I want to do. So I want, you know, I think I did things out of order here, but let's see if we can get back on track. I want to test the real world app with Playwright tests. I want you to do the following. Set up the MCP demo directory to run Playwright test, or for Playwright. Then wait for my next instruction. After installing Playwright. Let's see what happens here. I love doing this. It just does everything for me. Oh, so right here, it just did it on its own. It's like, cool, let me put this stuff in memory right here. Very cool. I want to allow some workspace so it doesn't prompt me for this ever again. It just does it. So it's just automatically adding things to memory as it goes. I love this. This is also where things can get dangerous, because you see I'm just saying, hey, do what you want, allow in this workspace. Oh, there it goes. It just, whoops, where did that go? Can't see it, but over here, it just opened up this stuff and is trying to run and load things. I'm not doing a very good job yet. I'll keep these files, sure. So it had some memory. It thinks this base URL is going to be here, but we'll see how that is. Cool, and it's done a whole bunch of stuff. Right on. And all these files, let me collapse this in. This stuff on the left over here is going to be less important as we go. All right, so the next thing that is important is that we need it to understand what it's going to be testing. So I'm going to tell, examine the real world app and figure out how it works. There's a front end and a back end that need to be running separately in order to work. Please figure this out and launch the real world app. Both front end and back end. Let's see if this works. So this is what it's running. MCP app, and you got this sign in, sign up, and then once you're signed in, you can create articles, whatnot. You got different users. And you can tell I played with this before because it inserted all these users, but I can actually just delete the database and we can start completely from scratch. In fact, I am going to do that and let the app kind of discover things. So I'm going to delete this database and then restart this with nothing. Okay, now delete the database. There is nothing in it. Cool, we know how to run it, we know what URL it is at, and we know where the code is at. So now we have everything set up. We need to start using MCPs to start manually testing this app. And then after we've manually tested it, we can start creating real test automation. let's get into it. Next section, manually testing. All right, there we go. I made it a little bit harder than it should have been, but all you have to do really is just create a workspace and then add folders to your workspace. Each folder you can add in your workspace can be completely different repositories. So you can add in your front end, you can add in the back end, you can add in infrastructure, whatever. You just keep adding those in to give your AI context on your product that's being tested. And once that's in there, it's going to supercharge this next part, which is exploratory testing with MCP. All right, this is the fun stuff. Now that we went through the painful process of getting the app up and running and all the MCPs working, now we can have a lot of fun. So what I'm going to do now is create a prompt that gets Playwright MCP, not the test automation part, but Playwright MCP, which is kind of going to control your web browser. And it's going to find the URL we tell it to go to, which is where we have our real world app kind of up and running. And it's going to try and do what you ask it to do. So you say, hey, test logging in and logging out, or test some basics of the site, or test accessibility, test cross-script attacks, XSS attacks, whatever. This is something that you can do on your own, and whatever feature that you need to test, you can actually get it to like kind of go through and start poking around. And with the memory MCP, it really builds up some knowledge around it. So let's jump in and see how that works. Okay, now that we got the app started, I think we're going to have a little bit more fun here. I actually forgot in the last section, the whole point was to kind of explore things a little bit more. But we'll handle that right now. All right, so first I want to ask Copilot just to analyze the real world app. Use memory and sequential thinking to break down how the app works. We'll need this info to feed into the Playwright MCP tool to explore the app. For now, just analyze real world app code. Then wait for me before doing anything else. Let me cancel this. All right. I canceled the last chat because you're not looking at the folder in the project. Let me add these folders as context. These are the folders of the real world app. Does that make sense? Back end and the front end. I don't know why it's having such a hard time with this. Oh, I guess, is it automatically executing this stuff? Nice. Yeah, so it analyzed the app. It kind of knows all the code here. Cool. Awesome. Now, let's use the Playwright MCP tool to explore this app. Let's basically do a manual test run. Let's see if we can use some basic functionality of this app. Let's start by at least being able to sign in. All right, now comes the magic. Let's see what happens here. Now, let's do some manual testing via the Playwright MCP tool. Some manual exploratory testing. Let's try creating a new user and posting an article. Use the memory MCP as we go to keep track of what Playwright is doing. We'll use this as information to create tests later on. Please record, pardon me. Please record selectors, text, and other elements that would be needed to create these future Playwright tests. Make sure they are recorded in memory as you go. Does that make sense? Now we continue with exploratory testing. Let's see what it does. All right, I'm probably gonna do a lot of fast forwarding here of stuff. Let's see if it does anything cool. Yeah. So the coolest thing about this is like you can just start directing it to do a whole bunch of things. There's something I did last time, and it started doing some really cool tests on this form. So I'm gonna see if I can get it to kind of do that again. Had some tags, nice. Oh, doing comments and everything. It's like just doing exploratory testing. It's keeping track of everything it's doing. I'm going to let it finish its exploratory testing. And then after it's done its thing here, because just watching this is like, watching paint dry. This is what I've been doing. I hit the stuff and then I just go get a coffee, do something else, get something to eat, and then come back. Yeah, I think sometimes you have to tell it, hey, just do a limited number of things and then stop. I forgot to tell it that. I just told it to go crazy with exploratory testing. It's going to try to do a whole bunch of stuff here. So I'm going to fast forward through this. Oh, wait a minute. Never mind. It finished. Okay. Cool. So selectors and elements have been captured. Error handling. User interactions. All the test data has been stored in memory and is ready to be used for creating comprehensive Playwright automated tests. The application is fully functional and ready for further testing or development work. Well then, we've done our manual testing, but we can actually tell it to do more. Let's go over here and say, just for manual testing, can you try and break the article form? I'd like you to try and make the app crash. Only try 3 scenarios. Only try 2. I'm gonna say only try 1 scenario for the first round. Keep recording this using memory MCP. Now I'm going to throw in the sequential thinking. Try again. All right, let's see. Okay. What just happened? Ah, we found a bug. So amazing, we found our first vulnerability. The backend returned a 400 bad requests, the error. Even though we clearly submitted a massive amount of content, the suggested content was so large that it broke the backend's ability to process it properly. Now, let me record this in there. Cool. So I think this is awesome. We just did, sorry for all the winding roads here. I was really hoping sequential thinking would have helped with this. But we at least have this. We have the, we found a bug. It's recorded in the back end here. So we should, based on this, be able to reproduce this issue and start creating tests from everything that we found so far. So we'll use, right now, I'm going to just make sure, just to make sure, all of this was recorded into, recorded into memory, correct? Nice. Cool. Has all the page elements. So this should be enough. And you see how we can like start attacking this and start doing a whole bunch of things. And I stopped it at one scenario. Imagine if I said, hey, just go crazy and see how many things you can destroy in this app. We've already found a bug. Honestly, I didn't found this my first time going through all this. I didn't even think of doing this. So again, it shows that, hey, it can find stuff, but it kind of needs you to drive it. And without that sequential thinking, sometimes it requires you to do that sequential thinking for the app, which is breaking things down into smaller tasks. Sometimes Copilot just tries to do everything at once. It just tries to please you. It tries to do exactly what you ask it to do. And sometimes it doesn't break that down into smaller steps. So this is awesome. I think we can go on to the next step now, which is actually creating the Playwright test based on everything we've done so far. Okay, hopefully you can see the power of what's going on here. I mean, at the very end, I just said, break this, and it broke it. So it's a powerful tool to help you find bugs. And because unfortunately, managers only think that test automators are it's all about bugs, not about preventing bugs, which is I'm about preventing bugs, not finding new bugs as much. But this tool right here will help you find new bugs while you're laying the foundations for your test automation. And this is where the next part comes in. How, now that you've like explored the app, you've built up the memory of everything you've explored, what next? Well, you probably want to put that into test automation. Let's see how that works in the next section. Let's see how that works in the next, Anyway, the next section, we'll see how that works in the next section. Cool, we got everything running. We did a whole bunch of exploring. We found some bugs. Let's jump in now and write some Playwright tests. For this one, I chose to write Playwright just to keep everything Playwright, but it could have been anything. We're just using the Playwright MCP just to do browser scraping, basically. Controlling the browser to build up some memory in the AI. We could have targeted to write test automation in Cypress or whatever test framework that we wanted. The Playwright MCP is just giving us a way of exploring a website. So let's jump in and see what happens when we start generating tests. Now we're at the finish line. This was a lot longer video than I planned it on being, but we're almost there. I apologize if this turns out to be a 900-hour long video. had the AI do some manual testing for us. We found a key vulnerability. I also, after I did this last night, I realized that it wasn't even really rendering the markup. So that's another bug this did not catch. So there are things this will not catch, apparently, and I think I need to dig in further to see how it will visually understand something isn't correct or isn't being rendered correctly. But let's get to this. That's another problem to solve at another time. I think you understand that you just need to iterate on this to build up your own like test buddy. And let's see how everything we've done with the memory comes together to actually create the tests. Let's see, what prompt should I use here? Given the exploratory testing we did, generate Playwright tests to cover those scenarios. Also, cover the scenario with the failing test you just discovered. And just we need to limit this a little bit. Limit, let's say just 5 tests. Limit the first pass to creating only 5 tests. We will continue with more later. After you have finished writing 5 tests, please stop and wait for me. All right, let's see what happens here. I love this shit. This is fun. And I feel like my coding skills are completely deteriorating. But I feel like I'm developing some other skills here on how to be concise in the way I speak or how I do prompts. So my skill set in prompt engineering is increasing. Oh, I didn't tell it to use memory. Let me stop this really quick. Sorry, I canceled the last chat. Please also reference the memory MCP for the exploratory testing we did. Leverage memory to create the tests. Also, make sure to include the bug, include a test for the bug we found. As one of the 5 tests. Okay. Oh, see, I guess you have to always like tell it what to do. So that's the thing about prompt engineering. It wants to do its own thing. It wants to run off without you. So you constantly have to keep putting those guardrails in. But while this is working, I was kind of looking in for a future video, just looking at some of these guys right here. Prompt files, instructions, tool sets, and modes. I think I understand what these kind of do. They kind of like have pre-made prompts and instructions and sets of tools. I don't know what this tool sets is. And modes, I'm kind of imagining we have like different modes like, hey, this is therapist mode. Here's tester mode. Here is product manager mode. So that's what I assume, but I think I want to dig into those next in another video, not now. This video has already gone on way too long. Oh, another thing, while this is doing its work, it's being a little bit slow today. It must be a slow AI day. Oh, it just created them. But all right, before we go on, while it's putting out the summary here, another reason I wanted to limit this, I'm going to go ahead and click keep here. The reason I wanted to limit this to just 5 tests, when I did this on my own last time, like it created like 170 something tests, and it was amazing. It was fun, but a lot of them weren't passing because it had the wrong selectors and whatnot. And from that, I did figure out a sequence to actually have it debug itself and fix the tests. But um, you might want to start small when you do this. Don't let it generate everything in the universe, because it might create more mess and more headache for you than help you. I would recommend start small, start with a handful of tests, and then start growing from there, maybe focusing on one area at a time, and then reviewing what it is actually testing before going full bore and like having it writing a bunch of stuff that either is testing nothing or isn't working, isn't doing what you expected, or just doesn't work at all. That is my recommendation on this. But it does a fairly good job of figuring out things to test. So let's dig into this. I'm not going to go through all the code, but I might just like peek in here and see what it's doing. So I was already looking at this one. First one's user registration, and it just goes through and navigates and registers a new user and make sure it can get in there. And then let's see, what else did it do? We got buffer overflow. Blink. Yeah, this is the bug that we just had, so that's a test for the bug. How to do comments. Navigate UI states. What does this do? Manage navigation states across your feed, sign in, side up. I think it's just verifying the I don't know. I need to dig into this one more. It looks like it's just navigating all the links in the menus items, just to make sure everything works. Kind of like a link verifier, but yeah, it's just verifying you can click on everything on the page and get where you expect to be. And last one, no, we already looked at the register one. Article creation, that's the one we didn't look at. And create a successful article. Nice. I kind of think that buffer overflow vulnerability would belong inside the article creation spec, but we can mess with that stuff later. Right now, I'm very happy it wrote a ton. I mean, imagine these 5 tests probably would have taken you a while to write. You know, they're not. You're gonna have to find all the selectors, do all the things, and it just kind of just crapped them out for you. But you can see how doing the manual testing actually informed the test here, and it also using having the actual code added to your workspace gave it a lot of context onto what to test, how to test it, and what test to write here. So let's dig in and see if this can run it for us. Tests are ready to run. Cool. Run the tests in headed mode. It's probably going to run really quickly and we won't be able to see them, but won't be able to easily see what's happened. But let's see what happens. Sure. Go ahead, do it. Oh, so much fun. Whoa, what's happening here? Why so many tests? I think it is. Wow. Oh, I think my data. Oh, my bad. This is me. All me. Let me cancel. I forgot to restart the back end. Why was it running so many tests? Oh, okay. It's running for every single. That's what it's at. I remember. Yeah. It's running for every single thing it can. Let's just make it run for Chromium only. Run tests for Chromium only. Run tests in order, not in parallel. All right. Let's see. Cool. Oh, what is that? So this is another bug it's hitting. All right, this is the... Wow, there's a lot of bugs here. And it generated this. Okay, so a lot of things here. We only got one passing test here. All right, there we go. We got 5 test suites, running multiple tests within those test suites apparently, and we generated it pretty damn quickly. Think about all the code that was just done in that last bit. That would have taken you quite a while to write on your own. It wouldn't have been just a couple hours I've been spitting here doing this. So you can imagine, once you have this workflow going, how much you can generate with test automation. But it's not just about generating the tests. We can actually debug our tests as well. That's coming up in the next section. I can't talk anymore. It's too hot. There's a heat wave here in Oregon. I can't speak. I'm just sweating. So next section, debugging our tests and dying of heat. Okay, this last section here, it's debugging your test code using the Playwright MCP and the memory thing to build up a cool debugging process that you can reuse over and over and over again in the future. I found this by accident, but once it started working, my mind was blown, because this is what I do every day when tests fail and there's regressions. I spend most of my day doing exactly this, rerunning the test, figuring out what wrong. It's usually something wrong with the selectors because some other team updated something, and that's hours of my day every day. No longer, now that I got this set up at work, bam, let's show you how that works. Navigation, this one's weird. I wouldn't expect navigation to fail. So I'm gonna say navigation UI test 8. I'm gonna see if I can replicate what I did last time. And what I did, this is a little bit harder without the sequential thinking stuff. Sequential thing, man, just seemed to like really paste everything together. But what I want it to do is run one test at a time. All the failing tests, basically, yeah, run the first failing test in the navigation UI state spec. Then I want it to use the Playwright MCP tool to examine, to make sure the test is structured correctly. And if not, fix the test. And if it can't, then we have a legitimate bug. So let me see if I can prompt that out. It took me a few tries when I tried this last. Run only the first failing test in navigation in, was it at navigation? Whoops. At navigation? Found navigation? Yeah. Examine the failure and see if the test is actually correct. Use Playwright MCP to mimic the test to make sure all the selectors and actions are correct. Does that make sense? I've never had it tell me no, what you're saying doesn't make sense. I'm waiting for that day. All right, so it's going to go to the thing and run the test -- headed and continue. Cool. All right. Oh, I'm gonna tell it to, I cancel that. Now let's see what happens. I'm gonna tell it to not stop doing this HTML report at the end. What is happening now? What's going on? Where'd all these about blank things come from? Hmm. Okay, continue. Something's blocking it. All right, that looks better. But it's not in the main navigation. So it used Playwright to go through this and was able to see something was wrong. And I can't tell from all this what it did. It looks like it did a lot of stuff really quickly. All right. So there is a global feed, there is a your feed, but our test is looking for them in the wrong context. Ah, so see, this is why I'm saying limit it to just a small number of tests at a time. And then as it learns from you, then you can start letting it generate more and more and more as you gain confidence in the prompts and guidelines you've given it. Let's see. I always get nervous when it does this, but I'll let it execute some JavaScript here. Cool, so it's figuring out what the test did wrong. So it's debugging the test first, which is what I always want it to do. It's what we do when our tests fail in automation. We want to see that is it our test that's failing? Or is this a real bug? Memory-based test is incorrect. Huh. All right, so the memory didn't say, hey. All right, so the memory was bad. It didn't give it enough information. Just to be expected, the memory doesn't record everything. It's more of a helper, a reminder, snapshots. Well, let's see what happens. It passed. Cool, so now that we have that in place, I'm gonna tell it to remember this. Oh, keep all this. I'm gonna tell it to use memory MCP to remember what we did here to debug and fix the test. Kind of feel like this is a test runner mode. Like we've gone through 3 or 4 different modes, and I'm wondering if this like drop down here of modes kind of I need like 3 different chats. Like we have an exploratory testing chat, and then we have an actual like writing test chat, and then we have another chat that actually debugs the test. I don't know if that's going too far. If we can do everything in one chat, or if it'd be better to separate out those roles so we have specialized roles for each chat that we're using. Okay. Identify the problem, investigation method, discovery, solution, critical learning points captured, memory versus reality. Always validate against current app state. That's a good thing to do. All right, yeah. Systematic approach. Navigate manually, inspect elements, compare with tests, fix, verify. Cool. I like the systematic approach. And this, again, where sequential thinking would have been helpful, but whatever. Technical details preserved, da-da-da-da-da-da. Cool. Given this way of verifying our tests, can you now go through the rest of the tests and repeat this debugging process. Please keep in mind, or please be aware, some things may be actual bugs. Be careful not to ignore actual application failures. It's okay if you are unsure to let the test fail and let me know what's going on. I love it. Does this make sense? If not, let me know if you need clarification. I've never tried this before. If not, let me know if you need more clarification. Perfect sense. It always makes perfect sense. Okay. Not every test failure should be fixed by changing the test. Some failures indicate real problems that need attention. Cool. Continue. Yeah, this shit right here. Which tests are these? I'm getting my real I'm at work brain coming out. I really don't care about fixing these tests or running or bug debugging. I'm just kind of showing the process of running this. And I think this does illustrate that process. So it's an iterative thing. Using memory, you can kind of record this process. So in the future, when we do this again, we can say, use memory to remember the debugging process we did for the real world app. Apply that process here. And then it can recall that memory and then apply what we've done. And then we can use, and a lot of these prompts I'm making, I'm feeling we should be saving them off somewhere. Like every time you get a prompt that works, I feel we should save it. And then like just put it in a document somewhere. But I'm still wondering if that's what all these do. But again, like I would like to have these somewhere where they're saved. I can always refer to them and they don't get lost. So I definitely need to look at this. What is this? Generate instructions? I don't even know what that does. All right. Behavior change? All right, so it's finding some issues. And honestly, I would have gone a little bit more one by one if I was working on my own test framework, just to see if there were any other weird issues. But I'm just kind of skipping ahead and say, hey, fix everything. But it's also helpful that there's only 5 test suites here, even though I wanted only to make 5 individual tests. Got to work on that prompt next time. Gonna kill the test. Something weird just happened there. Oh, you know what I forgot? Forgot to tell it to like update memory as you go, as you learn new things about the app. I should add that in with the prompt. Oh, found a bug? Option A. Oh, cool. I like this. All right, because I told it to like make sure not to just expect everything to pass. It's like, hey, this could be the real business thing, or it could be a bug. Or it could be both the way this is worded. Article titles must be unique and poor error handling. Cool, creating unique articles now. Love this Playwright MCP server stuff. Adding weighting like all good testers do when they don't really want to deal with timing issues. All right, I'm gonna pause this. I think you get the idea. Yeah, you just go through and iterate your test until, I'm not gonna show and keep going because this video is long enough. But you can see we're using the Playwright MCP tool to help write these tests. And you know what? The tests don't need to be in Playwright. I think we can get the same effect if we used Cypress, Python and Selenium, or Robot, or whatever. What's happening is that Playwright MCP is just studying the app and returning the selectors and just verifying things and seeing what's going on. So it doesn't matter what test framework, it actually ends up writing the tests and running the tests in, if that makes sense. I should have actually done that as a demonstration, but this is very cool. This is something that can do a lot of testing for you. And I put a lot of guardrails here to only limit it to a small number of tests. But once you have this flow working correctly, your prompts known and dialed in, you can crank out a ton of tests for particular features. And this is just a couple of MCPs. I'm so frustrated the sequential thinking one was not working, but just imagine, for me, this is a game changer on writing tests. I'm going to be using this at my job all the time now. I'm going to be doing it this way because it just cranks out the tests. It's usually so hard to write it usually takes a few days just to write, to cover some tests for a feature. And debugging it and all that. It's just debugging it alone. This is something that takes me hours every day for test regressions, is debugging. And here it is, debugging and fixing tests as it goes. That would save me hours of work daily. And I'm going to definitely use it to save me hours of work daily. So this is honestly how I'm going to be doing things at work myself. And I'm going to be iterating on this and adding more MCP tools and trying to see if I can do some better prompt engineering to keep everything in line and working correctly. And I know I threw a lot out at you here. GitHub Copilot makes things a little bit more difficult than using Cursor or Windsurf, but it still does amazing things. Just throw some comments if whatever I said here isn't clear, because I did throw a lot out here and it's hard to explain these things as they're going because it's an AI and it doesn't do the same thing every time, and it did some things I did not expect. So I do apologize for that. But man, so freaking cool. All right. I hope you enjoyed this demo. Let's continue. Isn't that freaking awesome? To me, that's amazing. This is what I wanted from AI. All the other AI tools I've tried in the past before, like this big AI blow up, they kind of suck. I tried Testum, I've tried a few other things, and it never felt like it went far enough. But this one does everything I wanted. It does the full workflow that I want, and I'm sure it can do even more. But man, just being able to debug those tests using Playwright and have it fix it and then rerun it and then verify it on its own, that is amazing, and it's going to save me hours and hours and hours of work. I mean, hours, and will free up my time, hopefully. Okay, I hope you enjoyed everything that I put together. I hope it added value. I hope it was simple enough to understand what I was doing to get the MCP set up. That was the biggest blocker for me, was just getting MCP set up and running. And then you just play around with it, explore. These are the things that I've personally discovered. I'm sure you're going to discover something new for your way of doing things. So it can tailor to you. And that MCP memory thing is what is a game changer for me as well, because I can use it across multiple projects. Oh, it's going to be very cool seeing how this progresses, as how I build on this in the future. And I hope it provided value for you. Please let me know in the comments, have you used MCPs yet? Let me know. Was there anything in this video that didn't make sense that you want me to dive in deeper in another video? Please let me know. Or if you just have questions you want me to answer, please, in the comments. I check for them every day. I will answer every question. Please leave a comment. I want to know that you exist and that you enjoyed this video and you got value. So please leave a comment. I would very much so appreciate it. And before you take off, remember to get your top five, I can't even remember the name of my own freaking free guide, top 5 test automation best practices. That is down below in the description. Grab it. It's a It's very easy to read and very easy to implement in your day-to-day test automation. And yeah, please go check it out in the link below. All right, now that you know about MCPs and Playwright, you might be wondering, will GitHub Copilot replace you? Will it? Scary question. Well, I explore this a little bit in this next video. Check it out here. Okay, everyone. See you in the next video. Happy testing.